Ladies and gentlemen, it's the world's most woke podcast,
Dope Dealers Podcast.
It's your man Jamal Doman.
Tobe Hixx.
What's going on? Episode 41.
41.
Because we not done.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
You know how we do it. I stand tall. That's why they call me Jamal. Tobe Hixx, what's good, man?
I see you was halfway back to that fake-ass rap shit you did from Philly back in the day.
MC Jamal in the house. Don't you, hey, man, don't stop hating on MC Jamal, man. It's going down. Speaking of MCing, man, dope independent music. You know how we start off the show, Tobe. That is your girl, Air E. Air, A-I-R, and then the letter E. She's representing Chicago. That's her. That's called Lil Casper. Nice
I like
little,
that.
yeah, Little Casper.
So she had a man in L.A.
Yeah, shout out to Air E, representing Chi-Town. It's cold over there, man. I know.
Oh, my God.
I don't know if she's out here now, but I know.
We hope she out here because, it's freezing back there.
Yeah, she's representing that normal, not allowed clique. Aaron Smith and Brent the Bachelor. Brent the Bachelor, he didn't send us, so that's one. I guess that's his new artist, new protege. Okay. So now artists send us their music, and then they send us their protege music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what's up. So listen, if you got dope independent music, you know how we do. Please send it to us, and we will play it, the intro and the outro of the show, and we will shout you out because that's what we do, man. We the people's podcast, man.
Oh, yes, Dope Dealers Podcast.
Yeah, shout out to the armed forces.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, and a special respect and condolences to the families of the troops that were killed in Afghanistan recently.
Actually, it was 3 today, but it was 2 killed. Like the mayor one was a mayor in a town in Utah. He was stationed in Afghanistan. He was killed maybe about a month ago. He was a mayor of a small town in Utah, and I think another military person was killed. So I think it was 5. So definitely you know how if you over there listening to this podcast overseas or wherever you at, man, representing the U.S. military, we love you guys, man. And you guys are in our prayers and our hearts.
Thanks for everything.
Thanks for your service. Thanks for your service. Thanks for your service, man. Tobe Hixx, of course, y'all, you can listen to us on iTunes. Well, you can follow us on iTunes. You can listen to us on iTunes. That's correct. But you can follow us on Instagram at Dope Dealer Podcast, our Instagram page, Dope Dealer Podcast. And Tobe Hixx, you have an Instagram. What is that?
TOBEHIXX.
Yes, and I'm at Jamal Doman on Instagram and Twitter at Jamal Doman, JamalDoman, and on Facebook is Jamal Got Jokes. And we also have a phone number that you can call if you want to talk to us, book us for shows. You have any suggestions about
some dates still available for the holiday season?
You have any show topics, suggestions? You can call us up at what that
818-916-1818.
One more time.
818-916-1818.
That's how we do it, man.
And we got a lot of show topics coming up for 2019 that we will be petitioning to find guests for and people who have knowledge on these certain things. So it's the holiday season.
Yeah, holiday season. So please.
Thanksgiving's over.
Yes, man. I ate real well. And
Black Friday.
Yeah. Oh man, people was fighting in the stores. That's just ridiculous, man. I don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm glad you ate well. I didn't eat well.
Oh man.
I just chilled. I didn't eat well. I did eat. I just didn't eat what I wanted to but I didn't want to. So I was just I'm one of them holiday guys. It'd be kind of strange.
I still got some leftovers in the
Ain't that a
still got some leftovers. So this is a special show today. It's about my partner in crime, man. We telling his life story. It's the life and times of Tobe Hixx. Tobe, tell what's going on, man.
I'm gonna take everybody through a journey of some things that have happened in my life, and it's actually a prelim to my book that I'll be working on. And the title of this episode, which will be the title of the book, is If I Sold You Crack, I Paid for It.
Give him that one more time.
If I sold you crack, I paid for it.
If you don't know Tobe Hixx, representing Omaha, Nebraska, you're about to know him in the next hour. He has one of the most incredible life stories I've ever heard, and the transformation that he made from the past life to where he is today. We're going to follow his journey. This is a show that we've been talking about, we've been wanting to do for a while, because, we always have guests on here, and you guys listen to us, you know our personalities, you know some of the stories. Of course, we have the Tobe Hixx Dope True Story, we do that. But me and Tobe been talking for a while about doing these shows of just about our life, let you guys know what we went through, what we've been through, how did we get here, how did we get to the Dope Dealer podcast, and Tobe is going to start it off with his story today. So Tobe, start us off, man.
If I sold you crack, I paid for it. Yeah, we're going to do this shit like a regular old. Tobe was born in Miami, Florida.
Miami, a lot of people don't know that. People
I was born in Miami, Florida. At the time, my mother was in the Navy. Yeah, she was in the Navy, so I was born in Miami, Florida. But thank God, my grandmother, she came and picked me up in Miami when I was 6 months old and took me to Omaha, where she was from, where my mother was originally from. And now looking back on it, it was the best thing that she could have done, because at the time, my mother didn't feel like she was ready to, take care of me full on and this and that.
She was still in the military, right?
Yeah, she was still in the military, this and that. So, it was easier for grandma to take me or whatever, and for me to just grow up there in that situation. So grandma picked me up at 6 months. Now I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, which basically is where I'm from, because I was just born in Miami. But I always dug the U. I'll get that out there right there. So grandma picked me up and brought me to Omaha, and I grew up, with my grandmother and my grandfather. And at the time, all the rest of the kids were grown, so it was just me and my grandparents at the house. And now looking back on it, it was really a wonderful time. I mean, I had them to myself. I had them to myself so much that other family members would be jealous, because, my aunts and uncles, they'd be jealous, like, well, Tobe get everything or whatever. Well, when they were younger, it wasn't, the money wasn't the same. I mean, now everybody grown, I'm the only one left there, so I was just, fortunate enough to receive those blessings and be around at that time.
What kind of neighborhood did your grandparents live in?
We lived in the hood, but the thing about it is that we had the nicest house on the block.
Okay.
We had the nicest house on the block. I mean, everybody, what was so crazy is that our house was the only house in this position. And what I mean is that the normal block, you go down the street, everybody's house lined up. Our house was the only one on the street that sat all the way back off the street. But you've been to my grandmother's house back then. Yeah. It was the only one on there right like that. And we had the nicest house on the street. And, we were very blessed. My grandparents had good jobs. They both worked at AT&T, so they made good money. I mean, shit, my grandfather had a great job, and he only had a 6th grade education, which was remarkable. Wow. I'm still baffled at this. Yeah. He all the shit he did with a 6th grade education. And to think that there's kids right now in 2018 that are not even graduating and shit like that. So it's just horrible when you look at it like that.
But back in them days, they left school early.
Yeah. My grandfather had to work. He was the oldest son in his family. He had to work, to help out. As he was saying, I had 500 pounds of cotton on each of my fucking shoulders. Yeah, he said, I carried 1,000 pounds when I was young. He was John Henry and shit. But Grandpa was a big, strong motherfucker. He really was. He wasn't bullshitting. And so I was able to grow up with my grandparents, and that was a real blessing, because like I said, I never wanted for nothing. We always had everything. And my mother, even though she wasn't around all the time, she always took care of me.
Right.
So I was always, I was the first kid on the block with the bike, the first kid on the block with the leather shoes, the new Converse. I was always that kid who, everybody like, fuck, this motherfucker's spoiled.
How soon did your mother come back from Miami? How long was?
Well, by the time she made it back to Omaha to live, after she got out of the Navy, she lived in Memphis for a while, in New York. And so by the time she made it back to Omaha permanently, I was about 6, 7.
Okay. All right, cool.
So now she's back. But I used to go visit her when she was, living in New York and living in Memphis and shit like that. So now she's back in Omaha and, feeling a little bit more mature about herself or whatever. But at that point, I was too attached to my grandparents and they were too attached to me. Correct, it would have just been a travesty to try to take me away or whatever. And so so my mother, she's back in town, and this is where I kind of first started to experience pain at an early age. And the pain was not having a father, not knowing who my father was, and the pain of the actions of my mother.
Right.
At least, and it's funny because my story is about my mother, and most people's story is about their father, or at least that's the way it's portrayed all over the world.
Right, correct.
Especially in black families. But at this point, unfortunately, it was my mother who, I grew up, and I'll never forget this. This was like the beginning of things that made things tough during our relationship. Literally hundreds, at least 100 times in my life, at least 100. My mother would tell me that she was coming to get me and shit like that and pick me up for a day, and she would never show up. She would never call. She would never say shit. I would be sitting in front of my grandparents' house just waiting on my mother, and she wouldn't even show up. And it would get to be dark, and I'd still be sitting there. My grandmother come out and be like, "Well, baby, it's getting dark. It's time to come in." And I would start crying, and I'd be like, "No, Grandma." She's like, "It looks like your mama ain't gonna make it." I was like, "No, Grandma, she's coming. She's coming." And I was like, damn, and I would sit there and keep feeling that disappointment over and over and over again.
Right.
She did this to me. And I never will forget one time my mother came over, and but one thing about her, see, what she would do is she wouldn't come spend no time, but when she did come, she would have a whole bunch of shit for me.
So that would
toys, gifts, because my mother always had a good job. She always had a good job. And now looking back on it, my mother always had a good job. She was the bitch who had the new car, the nice pad, whatever. All her homegirls was the leech bitches. My mother was the one that let everybody use off of her. That's why they took over all her time, and she didn't even realize it, and she didn't have time for me because she was worried about these no good bitches.
Right.
All right, her homegirls. So, I never will forget one time she came to the house, and the moment she came through the door, my grandmother grabbed her by her throat and forced her into the bedroom and slammed the door. And she was like, "Why you keep doing this boy like that? Why don't you call and say something? Why do you leave him waiting for you like that?" Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, damn. So it was the pain of my mother, how she would do. And then growing up without a father, not knowing who he was, I always blamed the man.
Right.
I blamed the man my whole life. I used to cry to my grandfather and be like, where's my father? Everybody's father would be at the baseball games and at the hoop games. And I'm like, where's my father?
Right.
And my grandfather would always tell me, he'd be like, "Hey, man, don't worry about it. You got me." And that shit was remarkable because I did have him, and he always looked out. My grandfather was one of the best men you could ever come across. I mean, I would cry. He would always have me. And like for my whole childhood, we grew up, man, we had Nebraska football season tickets. I mean, I was just the envy of the whole neighborhood. I mean, every weekend we would go to the games, whatever. My grandfather always took care of all the kids in the neighborhood. He was just that type of dude. So growing up without a father, at least he made it better. But during my childhood, I would always blame my father because I didn't know any better.
Right.
I didn't know any better until I became a grown man and started fucking with women and realized, hold on, maybe it wasn't my father's fault. Maybe it was my mother's fault.
Right.
Because I see how these bitches is doing me out here. So, that's how I start thinking, and that eased some of the pain, and I'll get to that later. But
did you ever ask? Did your mother ever, anybody?
Yeah.
Ask, like, where's your father at?
Yeah, my whole childhood, I would ask my mother. Anytime I brought up my father, she would get mad, and to where it would scare me. Like, don't even ask about your father. Right. So then I would ask my grandparents, and they didn't really know nothing.
Yeah, they didn't know because they didn't know happened in Miami or whatever.
Yeah, and this was back in a time when situations like that. Because basically, what ended up happening, I didn't find out till I was a grown man, and what ended up when I was like 30 years old, my mother ended up telling me the story of how she fucked with two men. And at that time, you couldn't tell no motherfucker, I don't know who the baby daddy is. Nowadays, a bitch can get away with that shit. That ain't even nothing. Oh, you don't know? Fuck it. Let's just keep it moving. We on our way to the mall. But back then, that shit was like an embarrassment. You know, you couldn't really do that. So I would always experience the pain of that. So growing up in Omaha, my first experience with crime was when I was in the 4th grade. Me and some friends of mine, this is how crazy we were and how young and stupid you are. We broke into the neighborhood school.
Which I was trying to steal some books.
Okay, look, now this is a school.
4th grade, some crayons?
Hold on, but look, this is the school that was right down the street from my house. I went from kindergarten to 3rd grade to this school.
Right.
So 4th grade, because of busing or whatever, they shipped us out to the white school. So the reason why the window was open, and we knew that, I mean, these teachers used to keep money there. We knew the shit from going there. But the dumb part of it is that, yeah, we went there. So somebody seen us and they knew exactly who the fuck did it. So I never will forget the police coming over to the house or whatever. I'm in 4th grade. My grandparents, oh man, they were so fucking mad at me. But that was my first time ever committing a crime or ever experiencing a crime. And yeah, that was wild. And growing up, I had no brothers and sisters. So
correct.
You know, I was the only child. So my homeboys were like my brothers. So my childhood friend, Andre Kellogg, we grew up with each other from 5 years old. I mean, he's like a brother, you know. We grew up our whole life together. And I mean, you know, you would never see one without seeing the other.
Right.
And I'll never forget, you know, this is the first time, you know, after committing a crime in 4th grade and then I made it to 9th grade, but this is when I really realized that the streets was real. And this is when I first experienced some real street shit, you know. My homeboy Andre's aunt, which was like my aunt, you know, she was around the same age as my mom. They grew up together on the same block all that time. And she was like my aunt, whatever. I mean, wonderful woman, you know, mother, this and that. And, you know, went to work every day, had a good job, you know, as far as we knew or whatever. And unfortunately, one day I was waiting on Andre to come, you know, because we would walk to school together. The school was like 9th grade. It was like 3 blocks before I got a car. I had a car in 9th grade too. That's another part of the story. But at first, so we would walk to school. So I was waiting on him to come to school, you know, to walk to school. And he ain't coming. I'm like, damn, what the fuck? So that's when we had the house phones. There wasn't no cell phone. I couldn't text him. So I ring his house phone. And all I hear is screaming and crying and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
And so that's when he gets on the phone and tell me he won't be going to school. His aunt was murdered. And I'm like, oh shit, Aunt Linda was murdered. So I remember my grandmother this is like when people still used to listen to the radio for news too, like and the TV, but they would have, you know, they would check the radio first. And I remember that she turned it on and they were speaking of a murder down the street from us, which was in the body was found in the park. And what had happened was Aunt Linda, her boyfriend, we ended up finding out, we didn't know until the newspaper article came out that she had lived a second life. So, you know, we didn't know that her boyfriend she was dating at the time, he was a drug dealer, this and that. I think he might have been wanted for a couple murders. I mean, he was deep in the game and we had no idea that she was involved with somebody like this. So they painted this picture of her in drugs, selling heroin, this and that. We like, what the fuck? I mean, like my grandparents, they watched her grow up and they had nobody had no idea. And so what made it so horrible is like her boyfriend was locked up and he was afraid that they was gonna make her testify against him and she was gonna be able to get him a whole bunch of time. So he was locked up and he had people kill her. And so not only did they shoot her a bunch of times, they ran over her body and just left her up in the park. And so, and it was just horrible. I mean, because everybody in the community knew the family, and it was just a horrible thing. And it's crazy because this same family, the grandmother of this family, Miss Kellogg, she went through so much shit, and it's just like, damn, you know, I'm seeing this shit as a child, like how strong of a woman she was taking this type of shit. So that was my first time, like, damn, you know. The first person I knew that was just killed, that was close to me. And I was like, this is fucked up. So that's 9th grade. So now we going to high school, you know. And I was, like I said, I was always the kid, like in 9th grade, I had a car. The school was only like 4 blocks from the house. I was driving to school, whatever. And so, you know, I was real.
How'd you get a car? Your
My grandparents bought me a car. But see, the thing is, like, you know, it was different times back then. You know, like nowadays, you couldn't have your child in 9th grade rolling around in the car and whatever. And in Omaha, you could get away with it because it wasn't as much traffic. And the farmers had a rule, you know, if you could drive a tractor at like 14.
Oh wow! Okay.
So they was a little more lenient, you know. But I would drive to school, whatever. And so went on to high school, and everything was going good. Really enjoying high school. Went to Bryan High School. Was hooping. Everything was going great. And it came up to my. I'm bypassing a lot of shit. My wrestling career and all that. Y'all know about that back home, folks. But now I'm in high school, and you know, I worked really hard, and I was one of the best kids in the city. And then it's like I was a legend in high school from playing on the playground, whatever. I mean, recently,
basketball.
Like, yeah, basketball. Like 6 months ago, one of my boys said, man, we was at the barbershop talking about some of the best ballers ever, and your name came up again because, and at this time, you know, I was only like 5'9", like 90 pounds.
Wow.
But
you was a point guard?
Yeah, and I could just shoot. Like I was shooting threes down there before we had threes. So I worked really hard. Everything was going great with my career. And now we get to my senior year. You know, I got scholarship offers. Everything is going great. I mean, I got a new car. I'm getting scholarship offers. I had the prettiest girls at school. I mean, everything was going great. And I was coming up for my senior year. Everybody was looking forward to it. I mean, people was ready for me. They was ready. They knew I was gonna put in work. And so
you getting scholarship offers?
Yeah,
you getting letters in the mail?
Yeah, I'm getting everything. Yeah. So about 3 weeks before my senior season started, we're practicing, whatever, we just getting started. And after practice, we get on the bus to take us home, which we rode a school bus. And so we on the school bus, and somebody lights up a joint on the bus. And so they pass the joint around. They pass it to me. I hit it, obviously. Because I had been smoking weed since I was 10 years old.
Right.
Because at that time, my uncles would give me high, so then that way I couldn't snitch on them.
Right.
Yeah, that was they logic.
That makes sense.
Yeah, let's get him high. He can't tell on us. So I hit the joint. So the bus driver, you know, pulled the bus over, and he was like, yo, put that weed out, blah, blah, blah. And
where's your coach at?
Well, it wasn't a game bus.
It was just a regular bus.
It was a school bus.
Okay, school bus.
After practice, though, that would take the athletes home.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and the cheerleaders, whoever has after school activities.
Okay, all right, cool.
So the next day, so the bus driver, you know, people had lit joints on the bus before. Times where I didn't hit them. And, you know, it was never none. People light it. He'd say, put it out, and they put it out and just keep it moving. So this time, I guess he had enough. So he told that there was kids smoking weed on the bus. So the following morning, when I get on the bus, it's nothing, whatever. We get to school, I'm in class, and I look up, and my coach is at the class.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck is Coach Trader doing here at the class? And he talks to my teacher, and I can tell that he's telling my teacher that he needs to talk to me.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck is he want? So he gets me out the class, takes me down to his office, and he tells me that he heard about the situation on the bus the night before, and some students said that you was smoking weed on the bus, blah, blah, blah. You know, you and some other people on the bus and this and that. And he was like, so what I'm going to do right now, he said, I'm going to have to suspend you from the team.
Okay.
So I'm like, fuck. You know, I mean, that was like damn near before suspension.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker didn't, what you mean suspend me from the team? What the fuck are you talking about? the season's getting ready to start. What the fuck you mean?
Is he talking about a certain amount of games or just?
He didn't really say. He said, I'm going to just suspend you. I got to think about this, blah, blah, blah. And so he thinks about it for a little bit of time. Now the season starts and he's making it seem like, okay, give me, it's going to take me a few more games to think about it. So at this point, I done brought shame to everybody, my family, my grandfather, minister at church, my grandmother, I'm in church every week, the whole neighborhood knows. I done just brought shame to everybody. Everybody is just devastated that I made such a foolish move.
Right.
And so, but the fucked up part on the coach's side was that, okay, if you wanted to do me this way, it was fine. But here's what
Did he suspend other people on the team?
No, he didn't suspend the other people. And the reason why is that they were sophomores. No. And I was a senior, and he needed them for a couple more years. And he knew if he suspended them, they transfer, they do whatever. And one of the kids' brother who hit it, his brother was a legend at the school before. Oh, okay. So that played into the part of it. But the main thing is that they were just younger.
Right.
I was the only senior that had hit it. So he's like, he could get rid of me. So the suspension comes. So everybody, the TV, everybody, the newspaper, everybody's wondering when I'm coming back, whatever. I done went to 2 games. He ain't told me shit. I'm just sitting at the games in the stands and shit. Okay. Motherfuckers coming up to me.
You're not even allowed on the bench?
No. Okay. No. You're
not practicing with them or nothing?
Nope, nothing.
Because usually you can still get to practice or sit on the bench.
No, nothing. And so my girl cheerleading out there, I'm watching her cheer. I'm not even there. I mean, it's just devastating. It's devastating to her family. Everybody's fucked up behind this. But like I said, he didn't suspend the other people because they were sophomores. And even to this day, I never really recovered from that. And see, that's what a lot of people, I haven't really told the story to a lot of people how I fucked my shit off. So, when people watch, when they talk to me about basketball and shit like that, I never go back and tell nobody because none of that shit even matters. And most people wouldn't even believe it. But motherfuckers in my hometown, they know the deal. They know how good I was, and they know how I fucked up. And that shit, I mean, it's funny because about 6 months ago, a friend I went to high school with, one of the cats who was on the team,
right,
who didn't get kicked off, who hit the joint too, he sent me a message like 6 months ago after all these years, and he said, man, Tobe, it still hurt me that, you got kicked off the team and I didn't, and he said, man, that shit, he said, I ain't never got over it.
So the coach, at what point did he say you're not coming back? Your suspension is...
Finally, after when it got to like the 4th game, because at this point now it's time for what was the biggest event besides the state tournament in Nebraska. The next biggest hoop event was the holiday tournament.
Right.
I mean, it was huge. I mean, and so everybody thought that he would bring me back by the holiday tournament because he wouldn't want, he'd want to try to win the motherfucker.
Correct, right.
But he did, and that's when he let me know you won't be coming back. So, and at that time...
He could have gave you... what type of shit? He could have at least gave you that,
but
so
it's gonna come
heads
back,
up to transfer? You could transfer?
Yeah, it's going to come back around.
Is your family... Is somebody talk... Did your grandpa go down there and talk to him?
Well, see, that was a little different because my grandparents were at the age where they wasn't trying... They didn't, they knew I fucked up. So it's like, why should we go talk to them? They were older, whatever.
Yeah. And, I mean, you don't get kicked off the team for taking a hit of the joint. I mean, I don't know.
But it was different time. Nowadays, that wouldn't be shit.
Yeah, you get suspended for half the season.
But back then, Coach Trader really, he wanted to make an example out of me. And
did y'all have any issues beforehand?
No. He loved me. I mean, I worked my ass off. When I got there, like I said, I was a 5'7", 90 pounds. And by the time I was ready to be a senior, I was a force to be reckoned with.
Did you try to talk to him? Or?
Yeah, I tried to talk to him. I got to a point where I was like, look, let me know something so I can go to another school, because there was another school willing to take me. Because there was one school in Omaha Father Flanagan,
right?
Which Father Flanagan from Boys Town. So they were willing to take troubled kids. And now all of a sudden, everything I had done, good grades, all this shit, hitting a joint one time, I became a troubled teen. So they were willing to take me. But it was also a case of coach didn't let me go immediately. And my grandparents didn't really want me to go to the school that was for troubled teens because they was looking at it like, well, you fucked up your hooping, but damn, you ain't got to fuck up your academics.
Right.
And now you go to where that school, whatever. But I wanted to go, but I ended up not going. So I sat through all that shit. And like I said, I don't know. I mean, to this day, it still bothers me. It's like, like I've still had dreams that I was back in high school. Like, you know what's funny? These, like in the past 10 years, these motherfuckers who've been caught going back to high school whooping. I swear to God, like I was like, oh shit. Cause that's some shit I
remember
felt
we
like
talked
trying
about
to
a
do.
situation like that.
I just didn't tell you why I felt like that. I'm like, man, these motherfuckers, cause I was like, I never got over it. And but here's how things turn around. And like I say, coach was wrong. I mean, I felt he could have gave me another. Everybody wanted the teachers. Everybody was like, "Yo, put him back on the team."
Right.
But then look how things turn around. So what happened was he kicked me off the team, kept me off the team. Our coach was a Bobby Knight disciple. He had worked with Bobby Knight in his camps and all that type of shit. And so he was the next high school coach in Omaha to go to the next level. So he went to college and he was hired by Hastings College.
Okay.
So he left Bryan High and went to Hastings. So now he moves his family to Hastings, Nebraska. And now fast forward, you won't believe what I end up finding out.
What you found out?
I ended up finding out that later on in life, his son and his daughter were meth addicts.
Oh shit!
And that shit came full circle. He kept me out over smoking weed, and his son and daughter ended up being on meth. And from what I was told, his daughter was really, really bad.
Shit.
So he got to experience that shit. So for not having no
empathy
for me, for lack of a better word, or what, it ended up coming back. So and to this day, like, I just found out recently that he's still alive. I wish I could talk to him and just, and let him know. Like,
What's his name, Coach what?
Coach Mike Trader.
Okay, anybody out there in Omaha
He's in Hastings, Nebraska.
Coach Mike Trader, get him in touch with Tobe Hixx because he got some explaining to do.
I mean, I wish I could talk to him still.
What would you say to him if you talk to him?
I just want to ask him why he didn't give me another chance.
Yeah.
After all the good I had done, like, why did he give me another chance?
Yeah, just for a hit. It ain't like you sold the weed to you just took a hit like everybody else.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all I really know is like why he didn't give me another chance. But I mean, like I said, that was some shit that I just never really recovered from. And that was a time where nowadays, if that happens, nowadays that wouldn't even be shit. I'd be on to the next school. The college's offers would still be good, but that was a different time, and everybody took everything back. And so I was just devastated. I didn't know what the fuck to do. All I knew is I wanted to get out of Omaha and this and that. So the first thing I did, and I don't know if I ever told you this, but this is gonna fuck you up. Because I knew I wanted to go to school and this and that, I knew I fucked up my scholarships. I decided to join the Army Reserve.
Oh shit! Didn't know that.
So I joined the Army Reserve when I was 17. This is when you could do it when you was 17. I don't know if it's the same now, but this was then. And so I joined the Army Reserve just out of just my mind gone. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to get the fuck on. So right after graduating, I go to boot camp in Fort Dix, New Jersey. I'm 17 years old. I'm away from home. I'm going through this shit, whatever, this and that. So then I went to boot camp, and I went to my training to be a driver, 64 Charlie. So now I finished the training school, and I found a school that would, one, take my my Army Reserve benefits, whatever, and also give me a partial scholarship to hoop. And that was Peru State College in Nebraska. So I went there for one semester, and I decided, I didn't really dig it or whatever. And I had family in California. Now I'm about to turn 18. And I had family in California that always said, come to school. Come out here. You can go to school. You can stay with us, get on your feet, whatever. And so I called them up and I said, hey, I'm going to take y'all up on that offer. And so my cousins, they said, hey, come on. So now I finished Army Reserve training. I'm starting my monthly deals. Now I'm going to California to go to college and to hoop and to start with a fresh, have a fresh start. So I started doing my monthly reserve duties and I go to San Diego and I go to Grossmont College and I get on the hoop team and I start playing, playing with some talented folks and things are looking cool. But then the Army Reserve thing doesn't really work out. So because they didn't want to give me the same amount of money in California that they gave me in Nebraska. So I was fortunate enough they gave me a general discharge and I was done with it. So basically I spent about a year in the military.
Okay.
So
didn't know that.
Yeah. So now I'm in San Diego. I'm going to school and I get there and I'm staying with my relatives and I notice one of my relatives, he's going to school and I noticed he's just got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Like,
I could just, he always paying for everything, whatever, this and that. And then I noticed that he has so much money that he had to act like he didn't have no money to his parents so they wouldn't know he had money.
Right.
So I'm wondering, like, I'm asking, like, man, where you get this money from? He's like, don't worry about it. Don't, just go to school, whatever, do your thing. So finally, I keep asking. Finally, one day I go in his room and I open up the door and he got like 100,000 on the bed.
God damn.
And I'm like, where the fuck? I'm like, hold on, look, man. Hold on. Where is all this money? And I know I'm skipping a little bit because what had happened was, when I moved from Nebraska, I jumped all the way. When I moved from Nebraska to Cali, there was no crack. So when I came to California, I was asking my relatives, I seen people on crack, and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And he's like, they crackheads. And I'm like, what you mean a crackhead? He said, they on cocaine. And I'm like, okay, okay, now I see, understand. Now I was like, okay, I know not to fuck with none of that shit. So now fast forward, I go in my relative's room, and all this cash is on the bed. And so at this time, he got some explaining to start doing now. And so, he starts to tell me that he do some shit, whatever. And I was like, well, I want to be down with that.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, man, this ain't for you. And so finally I keep asking, like for months I asked him. And he's like, nah, man. He's like, look, man, this ain't for you. He said, man, ain't no way I'm going to get my little relative in some shit. And then they can be like, he's supposed to be out in California. And then like you get fucked up because like, no.
Yeah.
So finally, after me asking him for months, he gets tired of it. And I guess he realized, he looks at me and go, okay, maybe it's time he's street savvy now. He know if I don't show him what's up, somebody else will.
Yeah.
Because I'm asking too much now.
Right.
So I never will forget, I had $25 to my name. And he said, how much money you got? I said, I got $25. He said, give me the $25. I said, shit, well, let me give you 20 and keep 5. He said, no, give me the $25. So I give him my $25. He give me the dough. So he said, get in the car. I hop in the car with him. He drives me up to Skyline Drive. Hey, y'all, Pyrus. He drives me up there, and at this time, crack was booming so hard, it was like 30 cats could be on the street corner.
Wow.
And everybody's making money. And we in front of a liquor store plaza type deal. And everybody selling dope is paying off the owners of all the stores, the venue. Shit. So they let you stand right there. It couldn't be stopped. So he got out. He said, y'all, this is my relative right here. He introduced me to everybody. He said, y'all look out for my relative. And everybody knew, like, my cousin had clout. He's like, don't fuck with him. And so I remember I got out and my turn came around. I went up to the car and shit. And they said they wanted 20. I opened my hand. My hand was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, shit, they wanted 20. And so they bought the shit, whatever. And in like 20 minutes, I had $50. So now this is when I had to go to the payphone and paging. And so my relative, he drove back up, and now he brought me $100. And he brought me $100 worth and took my 50.
Right.
He was doubling me up. By the end of that first day, I was up to 7 grams.
Dang, 7 grams.
Grams.
Oh, grams, okay.
Yeah. Which was equivalent to, that was about $150 back then. And so now I'm hooked. You know, and that's what people don't realize. A lot of people don't realize that the motherfucker selling the dope is just as hooked as the person using the dope. So now I'm hooked. You know, I made $150, still had dope and all this shit. I done ate good. You know, I'm drunk, I'm high. I'm like, man, this is the greatest. This is all we gotta do every day?
Yeah.
Shit, I'm
sign
in.
Me up. Yeah, sign me up.
So now we off and running. So now I'm on the streets I'm probably on the street. Well, I end up being on the streets for you, but I mean, I was really, really on the streets at this time, just like corners for probably about 4 years. And, you know, with people getting shot, people getting robbed, all this shit's going on right on these streets, and I'm right out there in it. And it gets to the point where, like, you know, we starting to get houses. You know, I remember like living in crack houses. When I say live, like living with motherfuckers for like 6 months, where like I would be there all day and night basically, and just go to my place and take a shower, get dressed, whatever, and live with these people. And damn, shout out to Donna the crackhead. Donna was an amazing crackhead. I mean, she smoked crack all day and all night, but she took care of her kids. She was fucked up. She would look fucked up, dirty, but her kids would be clean every day, and I always respected that of her.
Crazy.
Yeah. So shout out to Donna. I know, hope she clean. You know what's funny? I go back to San Diego, and a lot of the people I sold dope to, they have cleaned themselves up.
That's good. That's good.
And I'm proud of them, and they proud of me. So start dealing drugs. And at this time, you know, I become part of basically, you know, for lack of a better word, basically we develop a crew, and our crew was my relatives and their childhood friend. Right. So now we selling dope, and we got a team of motherfuckers. We deep. I mean, back then I walk around like a janitor. What I mean, we'd have so many fucking car keys. At this time, picture it'd be like 8 cats. Yeah. And everybody had like 4 cars. Yeah. So that's like 32 cars. Yeah. And any day you could just get in any car and drive it. Nobody, like, if I got in your car, you gonna be like, Tobe, why you getting my motherfucking Benz? We don't give a fuck. Everybody ride everybody's cars. Yeah. Everybody got keys to everybody's cars. So we rolling. And this when I was like, man, this is the greatest shit ever. Every day I'm in a different car. I mean, this is where, fucking the baddest bitches, smoking the best weed, drinking the best liquor, buying my homeboys Jordans, taking everybody out to eat. All this shit's going down.
What did you telling your grandparents? What are they talking
and
about?
That's what's so crazy. At this time, I would still have to ask my grandparents for money for college, because most of the time I'm still going to school. You know, but everybody at the college know I'm selling dope. Right. Like literally, I would get up out of class sometime and go down the street. I tell motherfucker, hey, you gotta meet me up at Grossmont, or meet me up at San Diego City College, and motherfuckers would come up there. And one thing about me I realized is that I was able to sell out dope because people liked me, because I wasn't an abusive crack dealer or whatever. Because some of my homeboys would sell dope and they'd be talking to the crackhead, get your crackhead motherfucking ass out of here, blah, blah, blah.
I never understood
or that. One of my homeboys, if a crackhead owed him $5, he beat their ass. I'm like, what are you doing? And shit like this over this bullshit. You got $10,000 in your pocket and you fighting somebody over $5. The fuck is you doing? Right. But all this is going on, and like I said, that's when we experienced, you know, like I said, it's booming now. And I never will forget, I was in San Diego on Euclid Street, and that's the hood, you know, right across from the swap meet, and there was a Taco Bell. At this time, it was a Taco Bell and Jack in the Box. This was a shit. Like every weekend, like Boys in the Hood, this is where we would hang out, all the cars would be up there on the weekend, just sitting in the parking lot, everybody. So one day during the week, I went in a Taco Bell. I never will forget this shit. And this is when the first cell phones that came out, and I had the big phone, the battery, and that shit. And I walk into Taco Bell. You wouldn't even know me then. Like, I had rings on every finger, jewelry all on. I mean, you couldn't tell me shit. I was out of my motherfucking mind.
The drug dealer lifestyle.
Oh, man, I had nugget rings, Turkish ropes, all this shit. So I never forget. I walked into a Taco Bell, and because I parked in the front, in the back parking lot, I didn't notice that the police was in there. So I walk into Taco Bell, and I never will forget this. It's 2 young white cops. And they look at me, and they say, man, we see you riding around here every day in a different car every day. You think we don't know what you're doing? We gonna get you one day.
Oh, shit. They told you that.
They told me they was gonna get me one day. And I was like, damn, I walked out of that motherfucker shook. I damn near left my food. And so that shit I never forget, and it always stood out in my mind. And they were right. But it took a while. And what I mean, so at this time, so now things are booming.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we got, me and my boys, we got rock houses in different parts of town. We got, I mean, shit's just booming. So, shit's booming. Okay, yeah, I had a brief there. The weed kicked in.
Dope Dealer Podcast.
Yeah, Dope Dealer Podcast. So
the life and times of Tobe Hixx. If I sold you crack, I paid for it. That's the title.
Yeah, and so so everything's booming, and the first tragedy is about to happen. Right? So everything's booming, everybody's making money, life is good. My crew, so one day we used to always hang out and play video games at one of the homies' houses or whatever, this and that, and we gamble and shoot dice and all that type of shit. And so one day we was at the house chilling, it was about me, it was like 10 of us. It's funny because back then, when you would see me, it would always be a whole gang of people, a real gang, literally a gang.
Yeah.
And now I spend most of my time all alone. So I've been on both sides of it.
Yeah.
Before, you know, you could never see me by myself. So we play video games. We meet up every day. And so one of my best friends in the world, Richard, we playing the games, and his girl sends him a text or whatever. I mean, beeps him and he calls her back. Text. It wasn't no text in. I'm tripping. So beeps him and he calls her back, and she tells him, hey, that you know, dinner's ready. You know, she done cooked whatever. Come on to the crib. And so he was like, oh, you cooked? Okay, the food ready? And I was like, yo, ask her if she got enough food for me. And he said, yeah, he said, hey, Trey, you got enough food for Tobe? And she said, yeah. So I'm like, cool. So he was like, Rich was like, come on, let's go. And I was like, yo, he wasn't playing, I'm playing. I'm like, yo, let me finish the game.
Yeah. He's
He's like, nah, man, she said the food ready, I'm going. And I said, okay, I'm gonna finish the game and I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so he leaves. I'm playing the game, I finish the game. So I get in my car at this time, man, at this juncture, I never forget this when I was in my 240Z. I had a 240Z, a classic with a candy paint, Dayton rims. So I hop in a joint. Now in this joint, it's me in the car. I got dope in the car, I got a gun, and I got money. So I'm just dirty.
Yeah.
All the way around. So, and I remember what I was going to say before I lost my train of thought. But so I hop in the car and I'm rolling. And Richard, he lived off of El Cajon Boulevard in San Diego.
Right.
So I'm rolling. And as I'm rolling, I start to hear sirens. I don't think nothing of it. Whatever, I'm just rolling. So as I'm getting closer to his house, the sirens are getting closer and closer. And I'm like, shit. Just sound like it's damn near on Richard's block. So I'm like, fuck, the lights blink. And I'm like, shit, this is on his block. So what I do, I park about 2 blocks away. Because now I can think, I was like, man, this is on his block. Something ain't right. So I park like 2 blocks away. And because I got all this shit with me. So I leave the gun, the dope, the money in the car.
Correct.
And I start walking. And as I start walking, I'm getting closer and closer, and I'm really realizing like, okay, shit, these motherfuckers at Richard's house. So when I get there in the front yard, I look up and my homeboy's laying right there in the front yard.
Shit.
He done been shot. The ambulance gets out, you know. Now they just pulling up kind of by the time I get there. So I run over there. I notice he's shot. I'm like, oh, fuck. You know, I pick him up. The ambulance come. And then I can tell this was the first time that I knew that they knew when somebody was dying because they weren't moving too quick.
Yeah.
That's when I knew. I was like, oh, shit, this fuck. Because they acting like, you know, they not moving quick.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, he's dead. And what had happened was these cats, they were on top of the roof, waiting on him to come home. Whenever he came home, they was gonna blast him. Dang. Whenever that was. And to this day, we don't know why. I mean, I know the cats who did it, and I know, you know, they were jealous because we were making a lot of money. And there's a chance that it was over a female also.
That's all.
I just don't know for sure, but I think, you know, deep down in my gut, it tells me it was over that. And what made this situation really fucked up is that my homeboy had been shot like 2 months before this.
Right, shit, and survived.
By the same motherfucker, like, you know, by these motherfuckers, whatever. Like, cause he knew who it was.
Right.
And so he got shot, whatever. He just got shot in the arm. And I remember going to the hospital and I was like, yo, what the fuck, who did this? And he's like, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. I know. That's like, nah, let's go get these motherfuckers. And that's when I realized that it was his time to go.
Yeah.
Because, and once it's a person's time to go, then that's it, because they won't do nothing. Because my logic was, we know who did this. Let's go kill these motherfuckers. Because my homeboy has so much clout, and he was the motherfucker that, he was like the Nino Brown of the neighborhood that everybody was really scared of. He was the most lovable motherfucker you could ever meet. But my homeboy was the type of nigga that every weekend, he's knocking a nigga out. Every weekend, it's a fight. Whatever. And he's, you know, he knocking a nigga out, laughing, clowning.
Yeah, we had niggas in our neighborhood.
Yeah, man.
Like that,
and so that's when I knew, like, you know, just like my grandfather always told you, somebody's scared of you or kill you. So motherfuckers was scared of. You know, big motherfucker, knocking motherfuckers out like Suge, like the same type of vibe.
Yeah.
But a wonderful dude, you know, who had love for everybody and took care of all types of people. So that was the mistake. So, but it was just his time to go. So that's why, you know, he didn't want to do nothing. And then these same people, they're fearing for their life because they thinking he gonna come back to get them because they know. And so they end up, that's how they end up handling it. And so the part of the story that kind of got twisted is where I was gonna tell about when I was talking about the police saying, we gonna get you. So now Rich is dead and it fucks up everybody. Like, we don't know what to do, whatever. I never will forget. This is how powerful how much power drug dealers had back then, crack dealers. No matter what, families would do. I remember the girl I was dating back then, shout out to Joy, and her family. And what I mean by that, her mom and dad was so down. They was cool motherfuckers. They was like, at first, you know, when they meet him, here's my boyfriend, okay, they like, okay, what'd he do? They know he sell dope. But because they dug me as an individual and they knew I was doing wrong, but they always wanted to look out for me.
Right.
Plus, you know, I always slide them a few $100 here and there, so all that shit.
That's what made it all.
Yeah. You know, I'm taking care of everybody. So when Richard got killed, like, I went to their house and I basically just hid out because we just didn't know what the fuck to do. We didn't know what move the next move was or whatever. But here's how powerful the drug dealing shit was. Because now looking back on it, after one of my best friends I ever had got murdered and I was right there and I was supposed to be there. So that's what God spared my life because I was going to be in the car with him.
Yeah.
And they would have to kill us both. They weren't going to leave me alive.
Right.
But that's how God spared my life. But damn, I was saying,
You're talking about your friend, your girlfriend, her family.
Yeah, they took me in, so I'm in hiding. But here's the funny part I was gonna say. It only took, I was damn near back selling dope before we buried Richard. That's how motherfucker, like, at first he's like, we all like, oh, we done with this shit. We done. It wasn't a week later because you couldn't be done.
That money was
motherfuckers wouldn't let you quit.
Yeah.
You couldn't just say, like, I ain't selling dope no more.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't let you quit. So now Richard gone. Everybody's all fucked up. And this is where, when the motherfucking police said, we're going to get you, this shit starts to be infiltrated. So another friend of mine, my homeboy's brother, the OG of the neighborhood, you know, what ended up happening, he hit me up one time and he told me that these people wanted to get some dope. So because he was my homeboy's brother and the OG of the neighborhood, you know,
you ain't think nothing of it.
If he say somebody wants some dope, you don't think nothing of it, you don't question that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I go to him, whatever, and it's 2 females. And I meet these bitches, and this is where I should have known. I mean, like, but, you know, back then I'm young, you know, I'm taking money, but now as a grown man, you know that this shit is some bullshit. So what happened was I met these bitches, and they in the Benz, they looking classy, whatever, looking good. One of them was fine as a motherfucker, and they knew they had that shit working for them. So they spent $50. They're like, let us get a 50 dub. We trying, you know, we starting to slang. They act like they had been selling dope, but then they had been out the game, and now they getting back.
Right.
Or whatever, that type of, that's the drag they was doing. So then I was like, cool. So I gave him that. So now we got this relationship, and my boy, I thought he knew him. The OG's, you know, I thought OG knew him, but he didn't know him. He just, see, we didn't know. I didn't know he was smoking.
Oh.
You know, because it hadn't, you could, for one, that's the homie's brother, and for 2, it hadn't taken effect on his look yet. He's still big, swole.
Right. Yeah.
You don't think he's smoking? So that's what it was. So he introduced me to these bitches, and he didn't know they was the police. So now, okay, I sold them $50 worth of dope.
Yeah.
Then the next time they hit me, they wanted $150, which at that time was like 7 grams was $150.
Yeah.
They wanted $150, and motherfuckers don't normally jump from 50 to that, whatever, that quick, whatever. So then the next time they wanted an ounce. So now they didn't jump from 50 to 150 to an ounce, which was about 5 at that time. So then is when I should know. Then they wanted 4.5 ounces.
Oh, shit.
And so I ain't thinking shit of it. And at this time, you know, we hustle so hard. I'm selling everything from motherfucking $20 to motherfucking 9 ounces at one time, whatever, that type of shit. So I sell the bitches 4.5 ounces, and I never hear nothing from them. You know, they don't call me no more. They don't buy no more dope. I don't know nothing, you know, whatever. And I was fortunate because, you know, because of the crew I ran with and the motherfuckers that we had, one of the homies' father was a city councilman.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, his son selling dope. My homeboy's father, he on the city council. So the city council, my homeboy's father, he found out everything, what was going on. Because he in the city council and because his son was involved. And so they hit him up and like, yo, man, your son and his homeboys.
Under indictment or under investigation?
Yeah, they up to no good. So he called everybody to the house. He told his son, hey, tell Tobe and tell everybody, tell them all to come on over. I'm a barbecue. So he have us all over at the house. You know, he barbecuing, everybody chilling, having a good time. And then that's when he said, look, I got to talk to y'all. And he's like, look, the police know about y'all. They know about this. They know about that. All this, and that. And he was like, Tobe, you got a warrant, a felony warrant, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, look, you sold to the police. And so I'm like, fuck. So he was telling me, he's like, look, just chill, just don't do nothing. He was like saying, stop selling dope, whatever, and just hold on, let me see what the fuck I can do. Let me talk to motherfuckers, let me just see what's going on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Councilman Stevens. Damn. Rest in peace. Thank you. All right, so I find out I got this warrant.
Yeah, warrant, because you sold to the police.
Yeah, I sold to the police. But like I said, they didn't bust me. They could have busted me right then, but what they was doing, they was trying to build a bigger case. So now I got this warrant. So now, you know, I got people everywhere. So now I got aliases, I got all kind of shit. You know, I get put over, please. I got different names, I got different IDs, I'm all set to go. So I just kept going, doing the same thing I was doing.
Yeah. Good,
just kept living the same life, selling the same shit, and living the same shit. And then now, nothing ever happened. So now by this time, this is when, as DJ Quick would say, shit, we had to branch out and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we started taking dope to other parts. So obviously, I'm like, shit, let me get some dope back to Omaha.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started transporting the dope back to Omaha and this and that, and because, shit's so hot in Cali, so we branch out. And so I get to Omaha, and basically I'm going through years at that time. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was a 4-year like statute of limitations on that type on a drug deal, like back then or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm in Cali for like 3.5 years, whatever, moving all around the country, doing shit. Ain't never no problem. Finally, I get to like a month left, and I'm in Omaha, and I'm rolling, and the police pull me over.
Yeah.
And they pulled me over, and at this time, like, this is when you could ride around with no ID or no shit like that, and it wasn't that big of a deal. So I didn't have nothing on me, whatever. So they take me downtown, and because I had never been to jail or nothing at that time, they fingerprint me, nothing, never come up, whatever. And so my dumb ass, that same night, I get back in the same car, my homegirl's car in Omaha, and after they let me out of jail.
Yeah. What they arrest you for again? What did they pull you?
Well, they took me. They took the rest. They pulled me over for speeding and whatever.
Okay, all right, cool.
And they took me to jail because I didn't have no ID.
Right.
And just fingerprinting me.
Yeah.
And shit went through, and I was out in like 2 hours, hour and a half, because nothing came up. Because I had never been to jail.
Right.
So, so then now I go back to the hood. I get back in the same car because they didn't impound the car. They left on the street. I go back. I get in the car. I'm rolling again. This is the same night, mind you now. The police get behind me again, flash the lights. I'm like, what the fuck? They pulled me over again. And I was like, yo, what the fuck y'all put me over for? Y'all, I just got out of jail, blah, blah, blah. I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. And they're like, no, you're Tobe Hixx. You have a felony warrant in California.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
How did they find out?
Because somebody snitched.
Oh, my God. Your own people.
Somebody I grew up with snitched.
You go back home, they're going to snitch on you.
And, yeah, they snitched on me. Because at the time, the operation had began to start to get big in Omaha. And it's funny because out of all the times, and all the shit like me and my mother went through, when I came back and I was selling dope, at first she's like, I told her what was up, and then she's like, oh, no. But then after she started seeing the money, this and that, she was like, it got to a point where my mother was cool with anything I did, whatever. I'd have dope there. One time I had an artillery at my mother's house underneath her porch. I mean, when I say artillery, an artillery. So one time, an artillery.
Damn.
Like handguns, shotguns, AK-47, Uzi, all underneath my mama's porch just in case some shit went down. And somehow, motherfuckers was snitching so much in Nebraska, somehow somebody close to me told the police about the guns. And I never forget, my mother was an OG with this shit. So the police, they came over to her house and they was like trying to snoop around or whatever, but they didn't have no warrant. And my mother looked out her window and seen the police. So she go out, open the door and like, yo, what y'all doing over here? And they like, we just looking around. Can we look around? And like, my mother was like, hell no, you can't look around. Get your ass off my property, whatever. So, so now I'm locked up and they hold me and then they extradite me back to California. And this is when I first go to prison. I go to state prison for selling the dope. And at the time, luckily, the charges wasn't high. Like today, if you were to sell that amount of dope, I mean, shit, you would get 30 years. But at that time, the time wasn't high, and all those shit. We already had an hour, huh?
Yeah. But we got a couple. I mean, we can listen. We got a couple more minutes. We can do a part 2 also. I know.
Yeah.
We may have to come back and do a part 2 to this. This is good.
Yeah. So now they ship me back to California. So now, I just look like, picture my grandfather and grandparents being on. My grandfather's a pastor, all this. So now I got kicked off the team in high school for smoking weed, and now they was acting like I was a drug lord, like I was a ringleader of a whole bunch of shit, whatever. So now I'm back in California and in prison, and at the time, they gave me, because it was my first time ever being in trouble, whatever, they just, they gave me like 2 years for that.
Okay.
And it cost a lot of bread and lawyers and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
And
did you have money saved up?
Yeah, had money saved up and all that shit at that time. And so I go through and I do my prison, do my sins or whatever, and learned a whole lot, obviously, learned about the streets and learned about motherfuckers. That's one thing, like, in prison, you learn a lot of shit. Like, you can tell a motherfucker, if somebody in prison, that's why I've always, like, prison help you become a tremendous judge of character also. Because if it's a motherfucker in prison who ain't got no money on his books, ain't never on the phone, don't never get no mail, then that means he was fucked up on the streets.
Yeah.
So, because don't nobody give a fuck about him no more. There's no way everybody gonna leave. Some motherfuckers gonna fuck you over, whatever. Everybody ain't gonna leave.
Yeah.
So I go to prison. I'm like, I'm gonna get out, straighten my life up, all that old shit. That's what you're thinking. So I get out of prison, right back to selling dope again. Like nothing ever happened.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And
hey man, that money is this back in San Diego, right?
Yeah. Back to San Diego, back to selling dope again. What's crazy is that I never will forget this part too. So now I get out of prison, Paul. Check this shit out. I'm fresh out of prison. So the same day I get out, my dumb ass, I go right back to the hood. Whatever. So now I'm in the hood. I'm hanging. My homeboys, they still doing the same thing. They selling dope. Everything's going on. Too Short bumping like ain't shit changed. These are the tales, the freaky tales. All that shit, dope fiend beat, cocktails, all this shit's bumping. And so at this point now, my son's born, and I'm waiting on my son's mother to come pick me up, to see my son and my stepson, which, a son she had before. I'm waiting on her to come pick me up so I can see my son after getting out of prison. So I'm waiting. So she finally comes and picks me up, right? And so she picked me up and I leave to go hang out at her house with her and the kids. And like 10 minutes after I leave, the spot get raided.
Shit.
I was 10 minutes away from getting out of prison and going back the same day.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you told me that you told this story.
The same motherfucking day. And I even, you know what, my homeboy, that was around at the time, one of them, he just got out like 3 years ago. He did about 10. And he said, to this day, he said the biggest thing that he's grateful for is that I left that day. He said, man, if you would have got arrested again that same fucking day, I just don't know what the fuck we would have even done or thought of, whatever. But basically, yeah, that same fucking day, I could have been back in prison.
Shit.
And you know what? That's probably the best place to no, let's stop it with this. I was gonna say probably the best place, but so now we're gonna stop it. Now, not only am I selling crack, now it ain't just about dope. Now I'm fully and fledged in the streets. So now it's
because you did 2 years.
Yeah, okay. And I get out now. I'm back to selling dope, and now it's bigger than dope. Now we me and the homies, we need faster money than the dope. And then this is when like E40 would say droughts would come through and shit like that. There was times that I would know like in 4 months, it ain't gonna be no dope. Like we would get the word. Right. Word on the street is that 4 months from now ain't gonna be no dope. So every time I would buy dope, we would buy some and we would sell some and put the rest away. So when the drought season hit, as E40 say, me and my niggas was the only one with dope, and we was charging motherfuckers like 5 times more than normal because we was the only motherfuckers with dope. That's what E40, when he mentioned the drought season, niggas looking for a reason. It's like Thanksgiving. without the feasting. And that's what he was talking about. But that's when, like I said, because we had the inside track, we knew when that, and most time when it was gonna come.
Okay.
And so we would branch out. Now we commit robberies also. And that's one thing, it's like, damn, you know, after everything I've done, the trouble I've been in, whatever, I know that I committed over 100 armed robberies that I never got arrested for. At least 100. I mean, we were so sick with it. We were robbing businesses that were walking distance from the house. We would walk down the street, rob a Blockbuster, and walk back to the house and pop a video in.
Shit.
And then watch the news at night, and they'd be like, Blockbuster was robbed. We robbed one Blockbuster like 5 times. They shut this Blockbuster down because they didn't know.
No wonder Blockbuster went out of business. Because y'all niggas was robbing it every goddamn week.
And man, like the Blockbusters, the UPS, like the partial stations. Oh man, we used to hit them motherfuckers, and they always had racks. So like had at least 100 armed robberies. Nothing that I'm proud of, but I'm like, shit, you know, thank God I didn't get to go to jail for those too. But yeah, at least 100 armed robberies, man. And the only reason why that, you know, anybody got caught is my uncle that, because sometimes we would rob in a group, like 4 or 5. I'll tell this story. I never will forget one time we hit a Vons on a Sunday night. This is when they all weren't open 24 hours.
Right.
We hit a Vons on a Sunday night. They closed at 10 o'clock. It was like 9:50. They had all the money in the safe from the whole weekend. And me and my boys run up in there, and I never will forget, homie G ran up in there. It was a big motherfucker in line paying for his shit. And I seen the big motherfucker from the outside the store. And I told G, I said, man, fuck, you see that big nigga right there? I said, fuck, we might have to kill this nigga.
Yeah,
we might kill him. And before I could even finish speaking, G pulls his shit out and runs in the store. And then like, because at first we were debating, should we go in there? Because we didn't want to have to kill this brother. It was one brother in the store in line and white people and whatever. And we like, damn, if we had killed, we don't want to have to kill the brother. So I was debating on even going in. Or at least, no, not going in, but waiting until the brother came out. Let him get in his car and leave, whatever. My homeboy wasn't having it. This nigga was crazy. He ran up in there, pulled his shit out. He ran straight up to that big motherfucker and he said, nigga, you got a problem with this? That big motherfucker said, hell no.
Hell no,
problem.
shit.
And so once he ran in and we all ran in and we grabbed a manager and shit, took her, she opened up the safe. We took everything out that motherfucker. We took, this is when they still had food stamps. Nigga, we took the change. Nigga, we had rolls of quarters, dimes, nickels, everything. We took everything out that bitch.
Oh, shit.
And so I would do those group robberies with the homies and also would commit private robberies with my uncle.
Okay.
Me and my uncle would do spots. And he wasn't my uncle, but he was my homeboy's uncle.
Yeah.
And he was like my uncle. So me and him would do robberies and we just do 2-man joint.
Yeah.
Okay, one person drive and the other one go in.
Right.
We take turns. Okay. And so we would take turns and then uncle got caught up, but he got caught up being dishonest. This is how fucked up should be. And the deal was whoever's turn it was to rob, we split everything 50-50 each time. Yeah. One drive, one go in. Yes. One drive, one go in. And every week we got 50-50. So he goes up in a spot like a UPS partial spot. One of them. Whatever hits him, he gets all the shit, get the money, whatever. He gives me the bread, my bread, whatever. And basically what had happened is that this is before motherfuckers had knowledge of credit cards and credit card scams and all this type of shit. He got some type of phone card or some shit. I guess they had in the register or however he got it out the motherfucker's wallet. I think it was out the co-worker's wallet because we would take everybody's wallet too.
Wallet,
So he got the shit, whatever. Somehow his ass went home and made a call with this card or somehow, and the police was able to track him. But one thing, Unc didn't snitch. I never did a day. He went to prison on the shit, did his time, and got out.
That's a solid. That's a solid uncle, man.
And that sounds like the best place to end.
Yeah, because we gotta do a part 2.
We gonna do the part 2.
It's a whole bunch. We didn't get into your baby mama, your first wife. So we're going, and then in the transition to stand-up comedy, how that happened.
Yes.
So yeah, we didn't get on the second strike, the third strike. So listen, if y'all, you see what I'm talking about? That's just part one. We can't even give it all in an hour. Shout out to Ebony from Buffalo.
Strike. Yeah, that's the first strike.
She texted me. She was like, because I guess it cut off on a live. She was like, man, I want to hear the rest of that story. That motherfucker lived an incredible life. She just texted me. So Dope Dealer Podcast, that is part one of Tobe Hixx. If I sold you crack, I paid for it.
Y'all get ready for the book. Y'all get ready for the book.
We're gonna come back.
If I sold you crack, I paid for it.
We're going to come back with part two in a few weeks, man, with that. So listen, Dope Dealer Podcast, you know how we do it. We appreciate the listeners for listening to us.
Check me out. Hey, this weekend, Sunday, December 2nd, I'll be at Monty's Lounge in Sacramento, Rancho Cordova area with the homie Michael Calvin Jr. Sacramento, tell a friend. Come on out this weekend.
That's what I'm talking about. This weekend, I'm actually somewhere this weekend. I am going to be in Canoga Park with the homie Tashawn Barrett, Trey Elliott, and Roger Raj. I'm at Canoga Park. I'm at the Faux CT Restaurant. The Faux CT Restaurant is 8366 Topanga Canyon Road. 8366 Topanga Canyon Road, Canoga Park is this Saturday. Showtime is 3 and it's free. It's free. It's no coverage. Roger Rod.
Yeah. Me and Roger Rod just did Steve Hill. He did me and him did the house joint. That was cool. And December 13th, I'll be at the Sundowner Casino in Kingman, Arizona. December 14th through the 16th, catch me headlining the Edgewater Casino in Laughlin. And December 17th at the Hundau Casino in Arizona. I got to get the city on that one. That's Arizona too.
Yeah.
But 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, Casino Run, December.
Listen to us on, if you're listening to us on iTunes, please subscribe to us, rate us, and leave a review. And if you leave us a good review, take a screenshot of it, send it to our Instagram page, Dope Dealer Podcast, Instagram page, just Dope Dealer Podcast. DM us the screenshot and we will send you a free t-shirt. Where else you can get a free t-shirt? All you got to do is leave us a nice review on iTunes, man. Please do that.
Yeah.
And there's a number you can call us if you want to talk to us again.
818-916-1818.
One more time.
818-916-1818. And hey, tell a friend. The podcast is really growing and we truly appreciate the listeners. And 2019's coming up and we're going to make this podcast one of the best podcasts in the country.
Yes.
And we can't do it without your help.
Spread the word.
Tell a friend.
Spread the word.
We truly appreciate it. We're grateful.
We drop every Thursday morning. We on time. Episode 41. Hit us on the Instagram page. Also, you can follow me at Jamal Doman, JamalDoman, JamalDoman.
At Tobe Hixx, TOBEHIXX.
Yes, and if you need to book us, please listen. We still got some dates available. Me and Tobe are two funny comedians with a lot of TV credits. So please bring us. You can see us every Thursday on True TV, Laugh Mob Laugh Tracks. We're on that show. So what else? Podcast hosts, they comedians. They also on a television show. So please bring us to your city or bring us to your college, your club, wherever.
We do theater comedy.
Yes, we do dirty comedy. We do adult comedy, college comedy. Bring us to your city. You know how we do it, man. Shout out to everybody at Comedy Pop-Up. Shout out to our engineer, Paul. Shout out to them Los Angeles Clippers. They doing real good. I see Paul is very happy over there. Shout out to my Sixers. We're doing real good. And Tobe Lakers are doing okay.
Yeah. We going to be all right.
Them motherfuckers lost to Orlando Magic.
Hey, motherfuckers ain't going to want to see us come playoff time. They're not going to want to see it.
If y'all make the playoffs.
Trust me.
Hey, so listen, we love you guys, man. Dope.